All right, welcome back, everybody. Today, distributive property, something that you've learned before. In fact, a lot of you have learned how to do it the way we do it in 7th grade to help us avoid missing some negative signs and different things. So it'll be a little bit of a review for some of you. For those that haven't heard of the distributive property, we'll make sure you get enough information to understand it. So when we say that we distribute, what we're talking about is we've got a number on the outside of the parentheses. And you know that a number next to parentheses means to multiply it. But inside, there's more than just one thing going on. This isn't just 6 and x. We have x plus 5 on the inside. So we need to distribute the 6 to everything on the inside of the parentheses. And I'm going to quickly go through some steps with you here, and we'll try a couple of them together. But step 1. We'll use this example and then we'll do another one as well. We are going to draw a circle. We're going to draw a circle to show what we are distributing. Okay, we're going to draw a circle to show what we're distributing. And I want you to put parentheses here because we're going to add just one thing. We want to make sure to include the sign. And I know right now that doesn't mean much, but it will here in just a minute. So draw a circle to show what you're distributing, include the sign. So in this example, 6 times x plus 5. We are distributing this number on the outside. So I'm going to circle it. I'm going to circle that 6. Now when I say include the sign, there's nothing in front of the 6, so I don't have to worry about it on this problem, but in some of the examples below, we'll look at what we do if there's a negative sign there. Step 2, once we've circled that, a lot of you have heard us talk about the Santa hat or the Santa hat method. That's what we're doing. We're kind of going to make what looks like a little bit of a Santa hat to help us remember what we're doing. So step 2 is we need to connect the number on the outside. We're going to connect the number on the outside by all of the numbers on the inside. Not just by the x, not just by the 5, but by everything. Okay? And the way that we do that is we draw a line. I go from the 6 and I'm going to make a little line that goes to the x. And I'm going to go from the 6 again and make another line that goes to the 5. The reason I'm doing this is I want to remember I need to times 6 and x together. I also need to times 6 and 5 together. And we call it the Santa hat because it kind of looks like a Santa hat. So step 3 is just to rewrite the expression. So we're just going to rewrite the expression. So what we need to do here, and part of this under number 2, maybe we should put one more hint here for you so that you remember what we're doing. When I say connect the number on the outside by all the numbers on the inside, that's the picture that we're drawing. But mathematically, we are going to multiply everything on the outside by what's on the inside. Okay, so I draw a line to connect them so I can remember what I'm working with. But mathematically, that line, I'm using that to help me remember what I'm multiplying. So let's go ahead and do it. Drew my circle, connected my numbers. Now I need to do 6 times everything on the inside. 6 times x, that's really simple. That's just 6x. Okay, and then 6 times 5 is 30, a positive 30. And I want to make sure that I always include a plus sign in between those. Okay, it's a positive 30, so 6x plus 30 since 30 is positive. All right, now let's look at 2 examples down here because they might be a little bit different. Our first example, number 1 right here, first step I'm going to do, I'm going to circle the number on the outside and I'm going to connect it to the numbers on the inside. And in this case, they're not even numbers, they're letters. But I still need to multiply them together. So 12 times r is 12r. 12 times s, this is a positive s, is 12s. But it was a positive, so I'm going to put a plus sign in between. So that becomes 12 r's plus 12 s's. All right, and number 2, this one is where things get a little bit new because it's not just a 2 on the outside. There's a sign in front of it, so I'm going to make sure I circle that sign and the 2. So I've got negative 2 on the outside, and I need to connect it to the r, and I need to connect it to the 6. So negative 2 times r is just negative 2 r's. And then negative 2 times 6. Now I know it's a positive 6 because of this plus in front of it. That means it's positive. So negative 2 times positive 6. 2 times 6 is 12. I know that much. That's simple. And I know that a negative times a positive is a negative. So I put a negative in front. So that just becomes negative 2r minus 12. And that's distribution. Again, a lot of you have seen it before. You just take the number on the outside, multiply it by the numbers on the inside. My Santa hat, my picture here, the drawing is just to help me remember a couple things, to remember the negatives, because a lot of times what'll happen, you'll forget that that was a negative 2, and your answer will be 2r plus 12. If I like to circle the negative because it reminds me that I'm multiplying by that negative 2. So that's the first half of our video. Second half is a little bit newer to you, and that's what we talk about factoring. So the example here says to write an equivalent expression by factoring. All that means is we have an expression right here, and if you notice, it kind of looks like our problems after we distribute. And we want to go backwards. Factoring is kind of like distribution backwards. We've already distributed something into this problem. We want to go backwards and pull it out, okay? And last year you did this with the factor tree. You drew the little line and you decided, okay, what goes into both of these numbers? So that's step 1, is to find the greatest common factor of the two numbers. And that's what's going to go on the outside. So the greatest common factor of 3a and 12. The a is just a variable. We're not going to really worry too much about it, but the greatest common factor of 3 and 12 is 3. So that's what I want to pull out. That's going to go on the outside of my parentheses. Step 2, we're going to divide the greatest common factor out of each number that's inside my tree right here. We're going to divide the greatest common factor out, and whatever's left is what's going on the inside of the parentheses. So when I divide a 3 out of 3 a's, all I'm left with is 1a. So I'm just going to write a. And when I divide 3 out of 12, 12 divided by 3 is 4. So I've got 4 left, and my sign right there is a plus, so I'm going to put my plus in the middle. So the greatest common factor, that goes on the outside of my parentheses. So I'm going to rewrite it. That's step 3. I'm going to put that on the outside of the parentheses. The inside of the parentheses is what's down here at the bottom, what was left over. I had an a left over, and I had plus 4 left over. So it's just like distribution, but we're going backwards. Okay, so let's look at these couple examples, and hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. So we're going to factor 7y's times 77. So I'm going to draw my little tree like you did last year. And I know that the greatest common factor, the largest number that goes into 7 and 77 is just 7. So I'm going to put that on the outside. I know I didn't leave us very much room here. I apologize. 7's on the outside. When I pull that 7 out, if I pull 7 out of 7 y's, all that's left is 1y. So I'm just going to write y. I'm not going to write 1y because there's only one of them. And when I pull 7 out of 77, 77 divided by 7, I'm left with 11. And I keep my sign right here in the middle. So what's left over is y plus 11. So now I need to rewrite it. My 7 goes on the outside. My greatest common factor goes on the outside of the parentheses. And on the inside, I've got y plus 11. That goes on the inside. So we're going to do it over here. Our example number 4, 6x minus 14, and we want to factor. So I'm going to draw my little factor tree. And the largest number that goes into 6 and 14, I think the largest number is going to be 2. So that goes on the outside. And when I factor that out, 6 divided by 2 is 3. So I've got 3 x's left over. And I've got a minus right here, so I'm going to keep my minus. Now 14 divided by 2, when I factor the 2 out, 14 divided by 2 is 7. So I pulled a 2 out, and I'm left over with 3x minus 7. So when I rewrite it, the 2 goes on the outside, parenthesis, 3x minus 7 goes on the inside. Okay? So be careful with the signs. That's the biggest thing this year. This is nothing new. You've done this before. You did it in 6th grade. The only difference is, like in example number 2, this year you might have to distribute a negative number, or you might have to factor out and have some negatives left over. So just be careful with those negative signs. And I want you to try these 4 problems on your own. When you're done, bring them up, let me see them, show me that you understood how to do this, and we'll get you the practice for the day. Good luck.